Good day, everyone. We'll just see a brief outline of literary theory. Now, literary theory is a very broad term which is classified into three subcategories: analyzing a work from the perspective of the writer, focusing on the text, giving a close reading of the text, and thirdly, we have analyzing the work from the perspective of the reader. From the classical times, a writer played a major role and works were analyzed focusing on the author's biographical information. Then, with the arrival of new critics, the focus shifted from the writer to the text, where close reading was given more weightage, and new critics emphasized the students to give close reading of the text. Now, after new criticism, with the advent of reader response theory, the reader response critics focused on the responses given by the reader. So the shift again happened, and the shift was made from the text to the responses of the reader. Now, in the forthcoming sessions, we will see what is reader response theory and who are the major reader response theorists, and what role does a reader play in the analysis of the text. Now, reader response theory again is a very broad term which can be again subdivided into five categories: transactional reader response theory, effective stylistics, subjective reader response theory, social reader response theory, and psychological reader response theory. Coming to the first category, transactional reader response theory, we have the pioneer Louise Rosenblatt, who focused on the transactions that happen between the text and the reader. She wrote a work, Literature as Exploration, and categorized the reading as efferent reading and aesthetic reading, and she analyzed the responses of the students in the university. Following her footsteps was the constant school of reader response critic Wolfgang Iser, who also focused on the reader, and he tried to kind of state that there is a transaction that happens between the text and the reader. Now, his works, The Implied Reader and The Act of Reading, focus on the role of the reader and how the author leaves gaps or blanks, make, making the reader to kind of fill the gaps or blanks to understand and decipher the meaning of the text. Moving on to the second category, effective stylistics, we have Stanley Fish, the author of the essay Is There a Text in Class? He tries to focus on the reader and his response, but on a collective level. If Rosenblatt and Wolfgang Iser focused on the individual response of the reader, Stanley Fish uses the term and he tries to say it as interpretive communities and looks at the responses of the readers on a collective level. Moving on to the third category, subjective reader response theory, we have David Blish, who tries to say that readers respond, and when they respond, they're bringing their subjective responses. Unlike the previous critics who focused on the objective response of a reader, we have David Blish trying to say that readers do bring in their subjective response when they read a text. Moving on to the next category is social reader response theory, where Hans Robert Joss tries to use the term horizon of expectations, and he says that a reader brings in a lot of expectations when he reads a text, and the text is open to readers of all ages. So the meaning is not fixed, it varies according to the period. And finally, we have psychological reader response theory, where Norman Harlan tries to say that a reader uses his defense mechanisms and analyzes her work, and that's how, he is able to, he or she is able to understand his own personality. So that is just a brief outline of the different types of reader response theories. Thank you.